Happy Tuesday, everybody. It's Amadeus, it's Jim, and we are here. And Amadeus, I know yesterday we were talking, and you're very excited about what's going on um, all over to this afternoon and this evening. There's some really good soccer to be enjoyed.
Yes, it's a very exciting week for sure. Tuesday to Thursday, we got Copa Libertadores and Copa Sudamericana. This is a very important match day. It's the final round of the group stage, so you're going to have a lot of teams trying to cement their spot in the knockout stages. So definitely going to be some exciting matches this week.
Yeah. By the way, in case you want to watch that here in the United States, it's on BN Sports. So BN Sports is where you're gonna be able to see the matches at the Copa Libertadores all week long. They're also Fox Sports One has the CONCACAF Gold Cup, and the UEFA Champions League is on Paramount at 3 o'clock today. So, and there's a bunch of under 21 matches, which is also on. That's on CBS Sports Network. So there's where you can go to find what you need to find, and going to be interesting. So there you go. And Canada, by the way, is playing Guadeloupe in the CONCACAF Gold Cup today. So there's that.
Yeah, that's a match they should probably just destroy Guadalupe. Not really expecting much of a fight in that one. If it's not at least like 2-3-0 for Canada, then that'll just be a disappointment. It all depends on the lineup they're going to start to. Like I said, USA sat their whole team pretty much in the first match against Jamaica, and that was a very poor decision because obviously they came away with the draw in that one. So. Yeah, it really you got to check the lineups in this Gold Cup.
Yeah, it's amazing because they do some funny things. So, what are we looking for in the Copa Libertadores that you're looking for as you watch as we get ready for 3 straight days?
Yeah, so there's definitely some interesting matchups here. So we'll start with the one group. So we have the first match on the board is the Atletico Paranense and Alianza Lima, and that's more of a meaningless match for Atletico PR because they can actually lose and still advance. So it's not a big deal, this match for them, but they are at home against the weakest team in the group. And considering that they lead the group right now and would win the group hands down with a win, nobody can challenge them because they're by themselves at the top of the group.
Right.
A win secures the group, and obviously you always want to win your group in these, because the winner of each group faces a second place finisher, versus if you come in second in the group, you have to face a group winner. So obviously, if it's on the table for them, they're at home here. I'm expecting them to still win the match, but Atletico PR is a very defensive team. They have a very good goalie, but they can score 3 goals when they need to. Right. But if they don't allow 2 goals, they're not the kind of team really to go blow you out 3-0. They'll score maybe a goal or 2 and kind of just coast. And Alianza Lima really needs to win this match. They are, like I said, they're in the bottom of the group on 4 points, and a draw or a loss does nothing for them. A win doesn't even get them into Copa Libertadores knockout stage, but what a win can do, depending on what happens in the other match, is a win might give them enough to stay in the Sudamericana and drop down to that one. So definitely, I would think there's going to be more urgency for Alianza Lima in this match. And I was actually looking because Atletico Paranense is about a -1.5 favorite, and as I said, I think they can win the match, but I don't think they're going to win it by 2 goals. And especially with Alianza Lima, pushing their attack, they need the win here. They have to go for it. I could see them covering the +1.5, so I kind of like Alianza Lima at the +1.5 in this match because, like I said, Atletico could win, but I don't think they cover. They win by 2 goals.
Wow. What about the other match for this?
Yeah, so the other two in that group are Libertad and Atletico Mineiro. And again, this is very interesting because so that one is pretty much winner moves on and secures their spot. If Atletico Mineiro wins,
Mhm.
they could possibly win the group, but they would need Atletico PR to either lose or draw with Alianza Lima to have a chance at that. Because, like I said, if Atletico PR wins, then they control their fate.
Mhm.
But there's still motivation there for Atletico Mineiro because uh, even though they don't need to win, a draw would see them through.
Mhm.
A loss would actually put them at risk of being out of the competition altogether because if Libertad beats them by 2 goals,
Mhm.
then Libertad would be tied on points with them and they would have the better goal differential. So they would advance. And we already know Atletico PR has booked their spot. So,
Right.
yeah, definitely. This is a situation where Atletico Mineiro doesn't need to push their attack because they don't need the win, but they can't lose the match either because then they're at risk of being out of the competition. So it's one of those in-betweeners, and I would expect them to still try and go for it. But Libertad, they're no pushover at home here. They're no pushover in general. They're one of the best teams in Paraguay. So it's one of those where I think that's going to be a very exciting game to watch for sure. There's definitely meaning on both sides. As I said, Libertad needs to win the match by 2, and Atletico Mineiro doesn't need to win, but they can't lose the match. That's for sure.
Well, that's the early game at 6:00, followed, at 8:00 for the other. So, yeah, you adjust your schedule accordingly for BN Sports Canada and US because that's where they're going to be able to watch them. So there you go on that. Any thoughts on CONCACAF? You said that Canada should take off and beat Guadeloupe, but then you got Cuba and Guatemala.
Yeah. So again, Canada, they're -2 in this game against Guadeloupe, and they should win the game 2 or 3-0.
Mhm.
Really, if Canada is having their full starting lineup out there, I don't even see Guadeloupe scoring in this match. It's just one of those things where like Guadeloupe is a very small team. And anytime you have any of these small teams face, Canada, US, Mexico, the big boys are going to take the game, all right? Especially in a competition like this, where Canada hasn't really won the Gold Cup because it's been so U.S. dominated, right?
Right.
So this is a competition, and considering that they lost in the finals of the Nations League to USA just over a week ago, this could be a competition where they say, we lost CONCACAF Nations League, but let's go out there and try to win the Gold Cup, right? Let's get one piece of hardware at least. And that would obviously be huge just for Canada as a squad in general, because they don't win too many trophies. But yeah, let me I'm trying to check if there's any value on the win to nil here for Canada. I just want to see. Yeah, see, even the win to nil is about -163.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, if I'm betting this Canada Guadalupe game, I mean, -2 is not terrible, but it's almost -2.5, and you need them to win by 3. But if I'm betting this game, I'm probably taking Canada to win and Guadalupe not to score a goal.
No, there you go. It's gonna be a lot of fun to watch. I mean, you've got plenty of good action tonight, and as we said before, those the times set up really nice. CONCACAF, your Canada game starts at 7:00. We talked about Copa Libertadores, starts at 6:00. 8:45 is Cuba Guatemala, and then of course we said the other Copa Libertadores. The nightcap is at 8:00. So you can kind of stagger all those and still get a pretty good chance of seeing what's going on. So plenty of action tonight. I was talking to the people at getting ready for the coverage of Messi coming to the U.S. and his schedule is that he'll play his first game in Miami on the 21st of July. and the All-Star game is a couple of days before that, and doesn't look like he's going to make the All-Star game. That being said, the MLS and Apple are setting up monster coverage of the All-Star game in anticipation that he might play. And then if he doesn't, then the monster situation is that they'll move all the stuff that they have from Washington, which is where the MLS All-Star game is going to be this year, to Miami for game one. And they're literally taking both a studio crew, who's the usual English studio crew, and the usual Spanish studio crew will all be on hand in Miami for Messi's first game. And so, in other words, you're talking about double everything for Messi's first game in Miami.
Yeah, there's definitely no way he makes the All-Star break. You got to remember, this is really his off season. He just finished playing a full season for PSG, and that ended just obviously before June started. So
and the World Cup and the Champions League.
Yeah, especially with the World Cup, it really condensed a lot of the schedules in Europe this year, and they had to play a lot more matches in a shorter period of time. So definitely, he needs that time to rest, and that was probably one of the things he said was, "I'll come back after the All-Star break because I need that rest time, and it doesn't make sense to come back before and then get a like that week. They take the week off, I guess." Actually, I don't know if they would do it in MLS. I would assume they would do it because they have it on a weekend probably. But yeah, so he probably looks at it like I'll have my vacation time up until the end of the All-Star break, and then I'll come back for then, because really, he wouldn't play till sometime in August if he was still on a club in Europe. He wouldn't be starting his season until about mid-August. August. Some leagues I think come back August 13th. A lot of them closer to the end of August, the 27th, stuff like that. So yeah, definitely, I would think that he's going to take as much time as he needs to rest, and when he's ready to come and play, he will come and play.
The first, my understanding is the first few games, 3 or 4. That Messi will play in will be Apple Plus, just regular. If you're a regular subscriber to Apple Plus, you'll see those games. But then, after about the 5th game, they'll go back to playing the usual situation where they'll do rotation, and most of all of the rest of the games that he'll be playing in will be on the Apple MLS, entire package, which most of the people that are going to watch the MLS are on Apple, have that anyway, so they don't really need it. But yeah, the theory is that from now on they're going to tout the late game, because I think Messi, the first, I'm pretty sure I got this right, the first 10 games he plays are all going to be in the Eastern time zone. So they're 7:30 kicks. So they'll, promote the 10:30 kicks, afterwards, and kind of do cut-ins and things like that to get people who are watching Messi an appetite for some of the other games that are going on. So that's their theory, using Messi to promote other games and then hoping they'll stay around to watch the late game. So that's the marketing strategy. We don't know how it'll work, but it's a thought. But it's going to be all Messi all the time in the MLS once he gets there. And it was actually that way, same way when Pele came to the United States and started to play in the NASL. Every national game was a Pele game. And you would think, why not, right? I mean, you get the best player in the world. You want to show some of that. I was speaking to some of the people at the MLS, and they were talking about some of the things they would like to see is they'd like to see some more of the U.S. stars who are playing in Europe come back and play, more in the MLS. But we'll have to see if that happens. If some of the top players from the U.S. teams, I'm sorry, top U.S. players who are playing in European leagues choose to come back to the United States and play in MLS. I don't know how that's going to work, but your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I really don't see that happening because a lot of these players on the U.S. men's national team, there's a reason why they went to Europe, because they know they're playing against better quality competition, and you're going to get better, right? The thing with the MLS is that the talent is not as good. And yeah, it would be nice to have them back in the MLS, but it's going to hurt their game as well.
Right.
And in turn, it'll hurt the men's national team as well. Because, if you notice about the men's national team, there's plenty of Americans that do play on MLS teams. What is the best starting lineup of the U.S. men's national team? Almost every single player plays on a European team, and there is a reason for that. So definitely, I think, and if some of these players decided to come back and play for MLS teams, you never know. Maybe a younger American star emerges on a European team and steals their spot, because it's all about the competition you're playing. It's better in Europe. And obviously, we have our own Alphonso Davies who went to Bayern Munich as he went to Bayern Munich to go play, because they understand, you can't really grow in the sport here in Canada. So, yeah, definitely, I would doubt that happens. Maybe towards the end of their careers, like you see a lot of the players do, when they hit their 30s. But yeah, I would think a lot of these players are looking to get on some of the biggest clubs. Oh, you got to think about the players too and their mentality as well. They're not just thinking, oh, how can I build American soccer and the national team. They're also thinking for themselves, and definitely if you're in their shoes,
right?
Exactly. They're going to be thinking, I can go and play my best. Maybe I can get a huge contract. Maybe I can get onto a Real Madrid or a Manchester City. Maybe I can be the next star, right? So I think somewhat they got to be thinking of that too, and that's good, because if anything, that'll help the men's national team, because now your players are striving to be the best in the world, as opposed to coming back and playing for the country you live in just to pacify the home crowd, so to say.
Well, again, these people are professional athletes. The key phrase is professional. So if I'm going to play for Chelsea and they're going to pay me $50 million to play, and I could come back home and play for Toronto or for Chicago or for New York and make $10 million, economically that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, definitely, and especially a team of Chelsea's caliber as well. Like when you come back here and play in the MLS, now you're playing in a 30-team league.
Right.
Yeah, there's obviously the playoff format, but there's a lot of dominant teams in the MLS, and if you're not on one of the few dominant teams, your road to the MLS Cup and into Champions League is going to be very difficult. Whereas, these players, the leagues tend to be smaller, 20 teams or less in Europe. And obviously, if you're getting onto a team like Chelsea or a Tottenham, maybe they're not great right now, but these are, long-standing clubs in England, and they'll be good once again. And obviously, you'll have your chances in Champions League, and that's all a good experience to have too. Playing against, in Champions League, playing against not only the best teams in the country of the league you're playing in, but now you're playing against the best teams in every league of Europe.
Right. Well, and the other thing too is that from that standpoint, and you've mentioned this a number of times when we talked about, Champions League, and then you get back to if it's the Bundesliga, or if it's, Serie A, if it's Premier League, the opportunity to basically have 2 and 3 players deep at each one of the positions, because maybe you have played, in the Champions League game, but you're going to sit this week on a league game, and maybe you're the second man up, and you get a chance to show how well you are as a player while the star sits down. So there's always that opportunity to because of the depth needed to play in all of those different competitions. You're not playing just league games. You're playing league games at the same time you're playing in multiple competitions.
Yeah, definitely. And as we've seen, squad rotation is a very important part of the game, because some of these teams that aren't deep enough to be in multiple competitions will, like West Ham, we'll see them go and win the Conference League, but almost get relegated in their domestic league. And again, that's just not having the depth to put out a good team every 3 to 4 days.
Right.
And with the MLS players, I'm not saying don't come back to the MLS, but even with a lot of these other players in Europe, like I'll give my team, for example, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. He was AC Milan's star back in like 2010, and then they sold him and Thiago Silva to PSG, and AC Milan went into a decade of darkness. And it wasn't until he came back to the team where he started to light the fire back in the players again. And then obviously they won the title, not this past season, but the season before. And again, that's something where Zlatan went and played his career. He even went and dabbled in the MLS for the LA Galaxy. And when he was finally, at an age where he thought there was nothing left in the tank, he didn't come to the MLS because he thought, I got nothing left and it's a bad league. No, he went and played there. He made the Galaxy a great team. And then when he finally felt like he had nothing left in the tank, he came back to AC Milan to help us. And he wanted to see them succeed. So again, right? I'm not saying don't go back to the MLS, but when I say they should do it in the later stages of their careers, when they're older, it's not because the MLS is a less talented league. I mean, it is, but that's not the reason why. Okay, because obviously it will grow and it is getting better as well. But yeah, the big reason is we see players all the time go back to a team that really meant something to them, and that's what these American players should be doing if they choose to come back. It should be, maybe after they've had a great career and they say, okay, let me go finish my years off in my hometown or whatever. Just like Messi, I doubt Inter Miami will be his last team.
Right.
Because there's something inside me saying he wants to go back to Argentina and retire for the first club he played for over there. So again, and even if it's only a year, again, that's something I think you'll probably see in the near future. But that's more of something that's the way really the players should be thinking if they're going to come to the MLS. Do it as like once you've done everything you felt you need to do as a player, then you come back and you give the hometown what they want.
Right. You tick off all the boxes and then you come home. So nothing wrong with that. Real quick, let's go through tonight's baseball schedule. Cincinnati's at Baltimore. San Diego's at Pittsburgh. San Francisco is in Toronto to take on the Jays. Marlins are at the Red Sox. Milwaukee Brewers and the New York Mets. Twins are at the Braves. Astros are at the Cardinals. You got the Tigers at the Rangers. You got the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the London Cubs. And the Cleveland Guardians are at Kansas City. The Dodgers are at the Rockies. The White Sox are visiting the Halos in Anaheim. Washington is in Seattle. The Rays are out in the desert taking on the Diamondbacks. And the Yankees are in Oakland, where they're packing the suitcases in Las Vegas. But not today. Anyway, so that's our Major League Baseball schedule for tonight. as we get ready down the road there. So you can figure that one out. And let's see how you bring this back. There we go. So there is what we have on the baseball. So give us some of the things you're looking forward to tonight as far as what you've got on your picks for for this evening.
Yeah, so I got some obviously the Copa Libertadores up. I have my total of the year in the Copa Libertadores that you can go check out. I cashed my one play in Argentina last night with Belgrano. It was a nice plus 145 on that one.
Good.
And if you dropped by the show, you cashed the Shamrock Rovers as well in the Irish League.
That's right.
That was a nice 1-0 win. I don't know if Bill tailed me on that one, but definitely that was a nice 1-0 win for Shamrock.
Well, maybe Bill did, and he's on vacation for a couple of months. You never know.
Yeah, so it would be nice. That's for sure. It was a very nice cash there, but yeah, and then I have 4 plays in the MLB for tonight as well. So definitely a big MLB. I'll drop a little free play for the viewers. I kind of like the San Francisco Giants at the plus 145. So we've been waiting pretty much all night for the pitcher. It was supposedly going to be Wood yesterday, but we've landed on rookie Ryan Walker this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And Walker's actually been really good in his few starts. He has an ERA in the one somewhere in the 1 range right now, 1.2 or something like that. He's 2-0, so he hasn't had many starts, but he hasn't been giving up runs.
Mm-hmm.
And the San Francisco Giants have actually been a better road team
Mm-hmm.
this year. They're over 10 units positive on the road, and they're only 5 units positive in every game this season. So they've been losing money at home, but they're making money on the road. And I know Kevin Gossman is he's pretty much been the Blue Jays ace, and
Mm-hmm.
he's been lights out, but he hasn't been at his best lately. He did pitch well in his last start, but he hasn't been at his best in his last few starts. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the first time he's going to face his old team here since coming to the Blue Jays 2 years ago.
Sure.
So the Giants are very familiar with the way Gossman pitches. I'm sure. Yeah, and considering this Blue Jays offense is so inconsistent. Some nights they put up 12 runs, and other nights they can't seem to score. And it was a big issue last year. I think it's creeped. I haven't checked exactly, but I know at the beginning of the season it had creeped over into the start of the season. The Blue Jays last year were the worst team when it came to scoring runs with runners in scoring position. So
that's not something you want to be. It's a distinction.
Yeah. You don't want to lead the league in not being able to score with guys on second and third base. Like, come on. So definitely, I don't trust this Blue Jays offense one bit. And obviously, we know the Giants have been on a tear lately.
Sure.
They've just been destroying teams. I think they were on a 10-game win streak just a week ago too. So I like the plus 145 with Ryan Walker.
It's funny too, because the Giants, you're talking about how well they're doing on the road. You build teams in many cases for the ballparks that you play in at home. And this particular Giant team is built not for, AT&T Park. It's built, it's built for, a smaller ballpark than that ballpark. And they seem to do much better on the road than they do at home in that regard. So they're not the 3-run homer type, put up the numbers like that. They're the singles, steal the big bases, and play good defense and kind of, eke them out from that standpoint. They're more of a manufacture runs kind of team, which, if you do it well, and they've been getting that timely hitting, and you just alluded to how important it is not, when you're not getting it, it's a key. So yeah, that should be a very interesting game. That we'll see how it goes. Yeah, Gossman has not pitched against the Giants since last. We saw them when he was in their uniform. So yeah, they probably know pretty much the book on him. So see how that plays tonight.
Yeah, I can't imagine in 2 years it'd be too many surprises he's throwing at them.
Well, and you get that the other game that is somewhat intriguing is Baltimore against a Cincinnati Reds team that just came off of a 12-game winning streak. So it's Cincinnati is kind of like caught fire, and in that division, you can go from last to first pretty quick, and
Yeah.
they bolted up there, and there they are. So, but I think we still think, okay, no problem. We will. We're going to sit back and say, here we go, boys and girls.
Yeah, and but even with that one, so the Reds have been like the hottest team in the MLB
Sure.
up until about the weekend when
Right.
the Braves they took the first game from the Braves and the Braves just shut them down, and then so they lost the series opener in Baltimore last night, and now they're in second place. They were leading the division. Now Milwaukee has snuck back up to first, but I think now you're starting to see the Reds regress a bit. The other thing is, they won 12 games in a row, but they were winning games with their offense. Their pitching was absolute garbage. First of all, if you look at the injured list, half of their starters, or if not all of them, are on the injured list, and that's why you see these guys like Abbott and Luke Weaver making the starts. Like these really wouldn't be their normal. Maybe Weaver would be, but Weaver's probably one of their worst starters on the rotation, and then it's just a bunch of rookies following him, really.
Well, you got guys who were in AAA about a month and a half ago are now starters for the Reds, and you had guys who were in the bullpen who were supposed to be long guys who are now starters. But you're right. I mean, they've been just bashing, and that's they're like the old big red machine. They're just whacking a ball apart. But
Yeah. But the thing with this Orioles, and their offense has been hot too.
Sure.
And if you look at the stats, they're actually so the difference between them and the Reds is the Orioles have been hot and they've stayed hot. They're still almost 20 games over 500 with one of the best offenses in the league. But on top of all that,
Right.
this is an Orioles team that there's something like plus 20, almost plus 20 units as a favorite this year.
Mhm.
So they are just when they are favored, the books seem to know they're gonna win. So I think actually here we'll drop another free play on the Orioles because I kind of think that the Reds have lost 3 straight now, and Weaver is a gas can, so he's gonna give up runs to this good Orioles offense. I could see absolutely the Orioles winning another game as a favorite here at home as the Reds start to cool off and regress now.
Yeah, and last night they had the Orioles started one of their, one of the kids, one of the guys that they brought up, and he fared very well against the Cincinnati Reds last night. So there you go in that regard. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of the show. And any final thoughts before we get out of here on a Tuesday?
No, I'll leave them with those 2 plays. Your favorite is the Orioles, the good old trustworthy Orioles to beat the Reds, and your dog of the day is going to be the Giants to beat the Blue Jays.
There you go. Can't ask for anything more. And you can get your stuff at Big Ed's,
BigAl.com and PickAdvisor.com.
There you go. And all that's all linked in the box below, folks. So what he says. You just hit the link and you go take you right.
Like I said, I got my group stage total of the year up for Copa Libertadores tonight, and I got 2 other plays and 4 baseball plays. I was gonna have a National League game of the month.
Well, you gave 2 games out today, so there.
But the thing was, I had already given out a National League game of the month this month. But my MLB Diamond Dinger, I really love that play tonight. I really do love that play. It's pretty much a 10-star play.
Check it out, gang. All right. We'll see you tomorrow and have a lovely day. Enjoy the games tonight, and we'll talk about them tomorrow. All right, everybody? Until that time, have a lovely day.